Fantastic. Tom, how are you?
I'm good, Tom. How are you?
Not too bad. So we've got an equally British surname with this Tom. So Mark Hitchcock is quintessentially English. McCallum surely is quintessentially Scottish.
Yeah, that's correct, Tom. I'm Scottish by name, English and Scottish heritage on dad's side, German, Polish, and Welsh on mum's side, and my great great grandmother on mum's side was Ben Hall, the Bushrangers' mother. So you got to be careful because I'll probably steal your horses.
Fair enough. And what's the language that's behind you?
My wife's from China, so we're holidaying in her apartment in Xinjiang up the north near the North Korean border. It's a beautiful -4 outside.
Yeah, lovely. Well, here's an interesting fact for you, and obviously these get published at different times. But my last recording of 2024 was a lovely lady in China she's from South Korea and it's called China Home for the last 20 years, I think. And my first recording of 2025 is by accident, by default, in China again. So, yeah, the stars are aligned.
Yeah.
And how is your Chinese coming along?
I connected with a lady on Facebook, Ellie, and she's a Chinese teacher. She'd be a good one for you to interview. Lovely lady. She's got a fast track 21-day program to teach people Mandarin. So especially if they're wanting to do business in and with China people.
Okay, Shishi.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so we've got a myriad of history around the surname. You've got a very strong first name, I must say. We've got a Chinese connection behind you, but that accent is an Aussie accent outright.
Yeah, that's correct. Now we're fifth generation, or I'm fifth generation on pretty much both sides, but no convict stock, only bushranger stock.
Yeah, okay, all right. Where do you call home in Australia?
I was born in Brisbane by necessity, 2 months premature. Went to Merivale Cattle Station out of Injune, which is an hour north of Roma, 8 hours west of Brisbane. At age 5, I relocated to the Sunshine Coast with mum and dad, naturally. Lived there 50 years, moved back to Vegas, to Merivale Street, same name as the cattle property around the corner from the hospital where I was born 8 years ago. So now I've just moved a little bit out to the southeastern suburbs.
So you're Queensland born and bred as well.
States to be in, Tom, Queensland and drunk.
Yeah, fair enough. And what would constitute your career? What would you say your makeup of your career has been since basically since you've been?
I didn't do any work in year 11. The principal told me that I should leave a week before the end of the year because he was annoyed because me and my mate used to drink with the teachers at the RSL. And so I took his advice and left. Mum made me do an apprenticeship with dad. And pretty much a lot of my time, I disliked the painting industry, even though single-handedly in the 1980s, I was 3 years into my trade. There was a big recession on the Sunshine Coast, building-wise, and dad wouldn't travel because my brother had become a severe epileptic, and my grandfather, mum's father, had come to live with us, and there was just no work. So I went out on my own, and I had my own business a year before my apprenticeship finished. And then I met a Kiwi quantity surveyor who we had a good relationship for 8 years. And because of my quality and service that dad had instilled, I ended up becoming about the 6th largest painting contractor in Queensland. However, the construction industry, what I've learned is when you work for people you don't know and employ people you don't know, expect problems. So businesses are monsters. They grow exponentially because people want to do business with us. But your problems begin when you employ your first person. So it's better to build a business slowly, I've learned, and that's where culture comes into a business. You don't have to pay a consultant $1 million. You just build it from the ground up over 10 years, and then you'll have people that think like you, act like you, work like you, provided you pick people that have good work ethic, good morals, and good values to start with. But because of my reputation and coming from bush parents, we have an unsaid rule in the bush. Your word is your bond. No handshake, no contract. If you say, give that an extra coat of paint, Tom, and I'll give you that extra 10 grand, why would you lie to me? Why would you abuse me? Why would that? And it took me, here I am at age 63 now, it took me till the last 5 years to get that out of my being of trusting everybody. And that over the years allowed builders and developers, because of my reputation, I started getting work that I didn't know the builders, employing people that I didn't know. So you're getting screwed over from above and below from your staff. So I know all the recipes for failure. And then, cent broke 5 times, bankrupt 3 times. Life's cruel, but you get up and you soldier on. So Paintbusters came about out of that because there isn't people readily available. There's coaches there and they charge a fortune, but we're about all things painter and painting. So if it's a one-man band, a husband and wife, they can't afford thousands of dollars. So we have a yearly fee of $366. Every year's a leap year at Paintbusters, we say. And then my services are cheap as well. They're not expensive. So we're about making sure that our members get a shortcut to success. Follow the yellow brick road. Don't do as I did, do as I say. And if they are serious about wanting to be out to play, to build a residual income, this country, it's changed a little bit, Australia, but people are so fixated with, I can't wait to retire and get the old age pension. Who wants $1,100 a fortnight? If you don't own your house, you're in deep excrement, So the end of the day is you spend 30 or 40 years building your business. Why not leverage it? Put your foreman in charge, your son in charge, your daughter in charge, leave a legacy and retire on 2 or 3 grand a week. It's so easy to do, and people they don't think of it. They just want the old age pension, poor dears. So it's all about helping painters become all that they can become, but also looking after the end user, the property owners and the property managers, because so many get stung, extorted, lied to, ripped off. So that's why Paintbusters has metamorphosed as an idea when Ghostbusters first came out for labour hire and recruitment to all things painter and painting, and now as a peak body. So that way we're there for the general public, we're there for the property manager type people and real estates, and we're there for the trade. So we've got it all covered, where we find the work, price the work, win the work, outsource the work to certified members, and project manage the process at no extra cost to the end user. So, I've spent 35 years nutting this out. Everyone looks at the model and they go, who thought of that? And I go, I did. And they go, you're kidding. Because we thought you were the village idiot. So, so that's pretty much where we're at. We're about to launch a new website this week, hopefully. And I've just done a major deal with Wattle Australia to get painters a better deal with what they do. And there's more of those sort of deals to come, because it's all about looking after our own.
Love it. And you know what? I'm not, you call yourself the village idiot or something, you've been painted that previously. If I hear that directed at myself, I do take that as a compliment, because you don't want to come in and be the shiniest, sharpest person there, and your cards are all on display. Everyone can see your hand. Sometimes it's nice just to be having a play and doing what you're doing and launch it on your own time, in your own time frame, as you see fit by design. So kudos to yourself. There's a few things that you said right at the beginning, which I want to pick your brains on, because you've got a couple of years on me. And that is really what you said was the unsaid or unwritten rule of people in the bush is my word is my bond. Okay.
Mm,
And I'm of the same ilk as yourself. So I also like to do what I say I'm going to do.
mm,
Okay. It seems pretty standard to me, but in this day and age, I'm finding it rarer
mm,
uh, than it used to be in my experience. To the point, so your word is your bond, and then the further exchange on that is your handshake, which is my word is my bond. If I shake on it, it
mm,
ain't going anywhere. But beyond that is then the contracts. You got the contracts, got the signed contracts, you got all the loopholes covered. And what I find is people still go back on contracts. It's like they're not worth a pinch of salt in some respects. You know, the people still just do whatever they want at the end of it. And it seems to me this dissolution of honour on commitments has snowballed in severity over the years.
mm.
Okay, now you've got a couple of years on me. What's your thoughts on that?
I think what it is what I touched on there, Tom, when we create these monsters, business become monsters. They get bigger and bigger and bigger. And we've got two choices. We can hire more staff, which creates the problems. We can work for unknown people, which creates the problems, or we can increase our prices. So once you get your pricing right, you don't sting someone. Oh, geez, I'm busy. I'm going to stick it into that Tom. I'll charge him an extra 20 grand on his, block of units in that city. Well, then the client, you in that example, you tell all your mates that Tom the painter's a crook. He's stung. He's expensive. He's blah, blah, blah. So people do stupid stuff like that. So, but what you're better off doing is you've got the two choices: more staff or increase your prices. Increase your prices 5% across the board or 10% across the board. And you get into your categorization of your clients, your A's, your B's, your C's, your D's, A plus even. So like a school report card, get rid of your D clients. They're the ones that whinge and bitch and are slow to pay and give you stress and heartache and migraines and add to your drinking problem. So just by slightly putting your price up, never to be lowered again. You keep the monster under control. More, bigger isn't better. Bigger is just bigger. Bigger heartaches, bigger sorrow, bigger loss, bigger whatever else. It might be bigger income, but hey, smaller is better if it's worked properly. Knowledge is power, but only if acted on and applied. Otherwise, it's just knowledge. So if you increase your prices, get rid of some of the tire kickers, don't work for people you don't know, or do it ever so carefully and do a little job first and due diligence and check them all out. And the same with when you're hiring people, painters, mate, I'm the best. Michelangelo had nothing on me. I could have knocked that ceiling over in a couple of weeks, and they're all full of it. I call it the Muhammad Ali syndrome. I am the greatest. No, you're not, because the 80-20 rule says that 8 out of years are going to be no good. Fact. And I've employed over 800 different people and 40 apprentices, right? I've worked for the unknowns. When I had my niche business, 12 staff, half of us had done our apprenticeship with my dad, working for major companies in the day like Jennings Industries, Graham Hall, Downer, and all these ones that don't exist anymore, Summer and staff. I had them all. And I did all their work. I got paid. Life was good. Then people come knocking at the door. Oh, you've got no union problems. You've got no quality problems. We want you. And then you find out that they're liars and thieves, when you're a third of the way through a multi-million-dollar contract and then they don't pay and all the nightmare. And then what you do is by monitoring your work once you put that 5% up, is if it's slowing down, you have an excuse for a promo. End of year, accept your quote by the end of the month, you'll give you 5%. You're only giving back to what your bottom line was that you could make profit for in the first place. So end of year promo, Black Friday, New Year, Mother's Day, Father's Day, any excuse for a promo, you know, April Fool's Day promo. Doesn't really matter, you know. So then you fill the machine up with work. But you only have promos, but you never lower the price, period, again. And then you just rinse and repeat. As the economy changes and prices go up and stuff, then you increase your prices a little bit more. So you will actually make more money with less staff. You'll need less resources, less working capital, and you'll live 10 years longer.
I love that. It's lots of hindsight in what you're sharing there. Lots of valuable insights for sure. This would be the sort of podcast where people will need to pause this, take a note, pause it, take a note, which is a good thing. I'm going to go back to the original question though. Okay, so I was talking again of how there's maybe a change in society on what people honour as their word and what they agree to if it still suits them. You gave me probably the ultimate answer you could do in the professional sense. What about in the personal sense? Do you reckon there's also been a change in society?
Yeah, as time moves on, yes, but there's still good people out there. Yeah, and negativity flourishes and booms, whereas positivity doesn't. And the reality is to avoid those people, whether it's hiring the Michelangelo equivalents or taking on a job, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. So if you don't know them, think seriously and long about working for them or employing them in the first place and put the prices up, which eliminates the problem, right? You might have a short-term problem till it balances out, but then you're not opening yourself up to have those types of clients and those types of staff. And then the go slow model, build your business slowly, you know. One apprentice, the apprenticeship system is one apprentice per tradesman. Tie them to them, right? I can get, in the day, I did $100,000 village life retirement village on the waterfront at Bowen for a Queensland firm that used to be known as Baker and Staff, formerly Baker Brothers. And I pulled in a $30,000 profit. So that job in today's market's probably $1 million job. I did that job with my brother and 2 other tradesmen and 8 teenage children that were sons of painters from Brisbane that got sent up, plus 3 of my own sons, hassle-free, quality-free, no problems because of supervision and organisation, right? So a 16-year-old kid, and anyone for that matter, one of the best apprentices I ever had was a 42-year-old Iranian with a mortgage and 2 kids, right? And within 6 months, you can teach someone all the hand skills to be a painter and decorator. They don't have the underpinning technical knowledge and contingency planning if something goes wrong, because that comes with experience. But they can paint as many doors as you in a day, as me in a day. They can spray as much. They can tape up as quick. They can putty as quick if they are taught properly. Dad gave me an analogy. He was a stockman, a very good one. He actually trained a horse called Sailor that performed for Queen Elizabeth at the Royal Sydney Show in the day. And the man from Snowy River actually had nothing on my dad. He had 3 garbage bags full of camp drafting ribbons that stayed in the cupboard that I never knew existed until I found my mistake when I was 18 or 19. He did a cattle drive from Injune to Cloncurry through the guts of Australia and back when he was 12 years of age, 6 months. You know, he'd go for a month out in the Merivale station before it was divided out, just pumping bores by himself, just him and a dog. You know, so he was an amazing man. But he'd learned to paint when he was 18 from an English tradesman that was in Injune because he was smashed up that much from riding horses. His back, they wanted to chop his leg off, but they said he'd never ride again. But he proved them wrong because a chiropractor fixed his back but he'd learned to paint in the meantime. And when we relocated to the Sunshine Coast, there was only 3 painters on the coast, and Dad's cousin was married into a hotelian family called the Balkans, and they got Ray Balkan got Dad a job painting, and then he, after about 10 years, he went out on his own. But he was good. He was quality, and he produced some very good tradies. My brother won Apprentice of the Year, and it's all about quality. But an analogy Dad uses, when you train a cattle dog to muster, how do you do it? They use a hobble. It's a short chain with a collar on the working dog and a collar on the pup. Where the working dog goes, the pup goes. After a season, you take the hobble off and the pup can muster. So if you train your staff with a hobble with you, one in, all in, they do what you do, you set a pace and a standard from the get-go, you will have a mean, lean painting machine. And there's so many tradies out there today. Oh, I can't tape up. I can't spray. Oh, I'm scared of ladders. Ooh, you know, it's pathetic. You know, you're either, you know, I don't do roofs. I don't do trestle work. Like, either you're a tradesman and you can do all the stuff, including the old gilding and wallpaper and imitation timbers. They teach us how to do it. You never use it, but you know, if you know your trade, you're either a complete tradesman or you're a nobody.
Love it. And I think there's lots of analogies and lessons people can learn from that in retrospect to all professions, because you know you're not an accountant if you just do accounts payable. You're a bookkeeper, you know, for example, and that's a bit of a blunt way of putting it. But I did love that analogy you said with the adult dog and the pup. I thought that was brilliant, because you can visualize that, and it's separate from most industries. The lesson itself hangs in there. Listen, we haven't got too much time now, but I do want to know a bit more about your business. I think you mentioned something in what piqued my interest, where you said you're a peak body. Okay,
Yeah.
how does that come about?
Simon Kelly, who I trade assessed for 15, 20 years ago, I was talking to him about 3 years ago, and he said, Tom, he said, you know, your Paintbusters Australia group and all the products and services you've got, you actually meet the criteria to be a peak body. And how you become a peak body is you call yourself a peak body and you go about proving it to people. So I thought, well, that's a better way to be, because we're not contractors, you know. I do have a future small job franchise to add to what we do, because there's all these annoying jobs that the average contractor doesn't want to do, a 1 hour job or a 2 hour job or a 3 hour job. I believe there's about $15 million worth of inquiries per week in small jobs in Australia. So a man in a van, put an app on it, away they go. It's not easy and it's not cheap. So, you know, people won't get, you know, something for nothing, because there's no free lunches in planet Earth, you know. So it's all about making sure, you know, and you see it, little old ladies that pay, you know, in Queensland, for example, under 20,000, you can only legally charge a 5% deposit. Over 20 grand, you can charge a 10% deposit. And people charge 20, 30, 40, 50% deposits, never finish the job. Little old ladies lose all their money. So, you know, all that crap has to stop. And that, as a peak body, we're about protecting the homeowners, working with them, working with the property managers, and working with elevating the trade. Like I said, we'll price the work, find the work, price the work, win the work, and outsource the work to our certified members. Now, I've got free members, I've got paid members, and I will have certified members. Only the certified will be allowed to lay a brush on someone's house, because I'm not going to send out someone, they might be the nicest person under the sun, but if they're not going to deliver a quality product, then I'm happy to work with them, that over time they can become a certified member. But yeah, it's about making sure that the industry and people don't suffer and get exploited and extorted and whatever. And like I said, we can do all of that at no extra cost to the client.
Love it. I really appreciate that, and it's it seems like to be a strong moral compass, which if I'm hearing correctly, seems to have been passed down from your father. Okay, who also had a load of accolades that he didn't showcase, which is probably testimony to yourself how you've lived your life. And you also used that word legacy earlier as well, and your sons. Okay, so just making sure everything you do is you hand over as much of the positivity, as much of the best practices as possible, to leave the world a better place than you found it in.
That's correct.
Love it. Okay. I really think there's loads here for people, whether they're in business, if they're not, if they understand your trade, if they don't, if there's people that just at a crossroads in life and just want to understand some good morals and values. So this has been a really good conversation. For those that would like to make contact with you for whatever the reason may be, hopefully to join your peak body and get certified, what would be the best way for them to contact you?
Either website, once the new one's launched. I'm on all the social medias. My phone number is my WhatsApp number, so WhatsApp is preferred option, especially if I'm out of the country. But yeah, so just reach out for a chat. And, I don't want people, and we don't pressurize people to be paid members. They've got to see a benefit in it for them. If they want to increase their income, we can help them do that. If they want to save money on what they buy, we can help them do that. I mean, it doesn't matter what we do. People want to paint their house, we can help them do that. We can help anyone do anything they want to do. And as it says on my Facebook profile, that I'm one of the most knowledge, experienced people in the industry anywhere. And that's hard to say about yourself, but it's a fact because it's the journey I've had. It's as simple as that. I'm me, warts and all. And I'll defy anyone to have more knowledge across the board of the painting and decorating industry. And as you said, it's more than that, because I've had somewhere about $250,000 to $500,000 worth of training in finance, insurance, investment, negative gearing, real estate, sales, marketing. So I'm an educated derelict when that. So, and business is business. And like you say, I might be in the painting industry as a peak body, but the principles and things within businesses are the same. And the modern era, it changed about maybe 20 years ago, and people still don't get it. If someone says, "What are you?" and they go, "Oh, I'm a painter, I'm a butcher." No, you're not. So the answer needs to be, and people need to get it through their thick skulls, is that you need to be an entrepreneur who's a business person, who's in the business of making money, and you make money by what you do. It's not who you are.
Yep, love it. I love it. And that's that's about I was just about to go off on a tangent then, but that's probably going to open up Tom 2.0. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed the conversation, and Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Tom. Thank you for the opportunity.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for watching this episode. I hope that you did enjoy it, had lots of takeaways from it. As before, please subscribe below so you can keep on top of any new releases we have. And also, if you would like to have your story told, just reach out with me and I'd love to give you that platform. My best email address is tom@purplepatchconsulting.com. Thank you.